potential water crisis has led to the closure of several water supply points in Tshwane, but Rand Water has assured residents a day zero disaster is not on the cards. Now, Rand Water told Tshwane, Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni on Saturday their water storage in reservoirs has dipped to below 30%. This meant the municipalities had to implement immediate interventions to mitigate the crisis as they were supplied by the affected reservoirs. Now, Johannesburg and its surroundings have been hit by severe outages in recent days. And let's help understand the depth of this particular crisis. Let's speak now to Dr Ferrial Adam, WaterCAN Executive Manager, who is joining us for more. Ferrial, I'm breathing because I don't even know where to begin with the extent of what we have been seeing unfold. And I wonder, in your view, Rand Water is saying that a day zero disaster is not on the cards. But given what we're seeing, are you convinced by that?
No, I'm not. I think that both the stories or the information we've been getting from both Joburg Water and Rand Water has led to a lot of confusion. They have not engaged people along the way. So that's why when we first started out in Johannesburg, if you remember, it was an Eikenhoff lightning strike, then it was 2 power outages, and then it was a valve, and then it wasn't a valve. So the communication is really bad, and they need to up that kind of level of engaging with people so that we understand what's going on. But in terms of not having a day zero, I think that I am concerned because many of our reservoirs are actually quite low. We know that our infrastructure is failing, and Rand Water, Joburg Water has not been able to deal with the amount of leaks that's going around. So it is quite a crisis, and I think that if it carries on in this way, we could have a point where we could have a day zero because the reservoirs run dry, and that is a challenge.
And right at that point, because it's one of the big issues that the communication has been so confusing, and does it then give the residents a sense that all of those who are tasked with dealing with this crisis have everything under control?
No, it doesn't. And it's why, because, the latest call from Joburg Water and Rand Water for people to use water sparingly is a real one. We have to be part of that. We have to start using our water more sparingly because there's a strain on our reservoirs. There's a strain of the amount of water that is coming out and the amount of water that's going in. So we have to also play our part. But people are not believing Joburg Water and Rand Water, so there's no trust. And so even if people would be willing to help, they would we can't believe these people.
Yeah,
and that's
and especially because, just in the previous hour, I was in conversation with Water and Sanitation Minister Senzo Mchunu, who says that while he understands that there's issues around, the population increase, rapid urbanization and all of that, but the 3 metros have not been maintaining their infrastructure as they should have. And for him, that is the big issue.
It's a huge issue, and I'm so glad that he said that, but he needs to say that that is a crisis because we need to deal with it as a war room kind of approach, because otherwise we are definitely having a day zero. And in terms of that, in terms of the amount of money being spent on maintenance, let me give you an example of the city of Johannesburg. They claim that they spend 9 to 10% of the cost of an asset on maintenance, which if you think, Treasury says if you spend between 6 and 8%, that's really good if you spend that amount of money on the cost of the asset onto maintenance. They say they're spending 9 to 10% on maintenance. The reality is that more than half of that goes to contractors, another third of that goes to staff, which leaves a little bit that they're actually using for maintenance.
And then at the same time, you then have to contend with the fact that while we are seeing water leaks above ground, there's a lot more that's going on underground in terms of the water that's leaking that we cannot see. And even to this day in 2024, we're still having a conversation about the water leaks.
Absolutely. And it's not, and we must remember when we look at water, we must look at water and sanitation issues. So yes, we have the leaks and we have issues that are burst pipes underground. We have all of that. City of Johannesburg loses 25% of its water. Clean drinking water is lost through leaks, right? but our wastewater treatment works are also not working properly. So you've got sewage, raw sewage and other kind of things that's supposed to be cleaned from a wastewater treatment work flowing into our rivers and streams around the country, but we can see it everywhere in Joburg.
It sounds to me like man-made in part.
It's not, it's not natural to have this kind of behavior, but it is mismanagement, because if you don't do maintenance for 10 years on infrastructure, that infrastructure is going to die. It's going to fall apart. It's like if you have a car, you take it in every year for a service. If you don't, it's going to fall apart.
And how much of a concern for you are some of the claims? Because others are saying that it does look like this is being done deliberately in some parts, because the minister does say that while investigations continue into this valve issue and some of the other issues as well, it does concern him that there are some individuals who are deliberately tampering with the system or damaging the system. So how much of that also plays into what we're seeing?
I can't say, look, the bulk of what we've seen for the last 2 years has been mismanagement. It has been a result of not spending money on maintenance. That is the bulk of what we're seeing. There will be elements of kind of sabotage and vandalism. And we've seen that in energy and we'll see that in water. But I don't think right now, as it stands, it's the main cause of what is going on. It could be an element. In Ekurhuleni, if you remember, and in the Eastern Cape, there were, the water tanker mafias who were destroying infrastructure so that they can continue getting contracts to actually run the tanks. So those things do happen. But here, until we have proof, I can't say that that is happening. But I still think that even if it is happening, it's not the main cause of what we're seeing and where we are right now.
For you right now, because according to the Minister, Rand Water, Joburg Water and the Department of Water and Sanitation are in a meeting at this hour. It was expected to start at 6 o'clock. I hope it has. So we can then be able to get a sense of what's going on. But what is that one area that they need to zone into in order to be able to try and get us out of this crisis? Where do they even begin?
They need to have a basic infrastructure plan and maintenance program. So start there so that we can deal with the leaks. We can find out where are our hotspots in the, and it's not even just Johannesburg, it's Gauteng. But let's find out where our hotspots are, where are the weak points, and let's deal with those. So the first thing would be an infrastructure plan, which should have been in place by now. Let's see that with clear deadlines, short-term, medium-term, long-term plans, and let's see it and let's put the budget to that. But seriously, if we're going to keep pointing fingers at each other with Rand Water and Joburg Water, we're not going to get anywhere.
I know you've answered this question a little earlier on, especially when it comes to some of the communities and what they can do and what role then we can play to also help to avert a crisis. But what does it look like at a practical level for a resident taking part in ensuring that we don't reach day zero?
So the first thing is you must log your leaks. What has been happening is that in some areas, when they were, they thought that they were logging the leaks, they were complaining about the leaks. And then when they went actually to the city of Joburg, they said, but your area is not even on our radar. So please log the leaks so that we know, so that they can say that you haven't logged the leak. You need the reference. So keep doing that. Keep being the eyes and ears. If you see something weird around water coming from underground, sewage overflows, you need to report those things. And if there's nobody responding in at least 24 hours, and I know there's a lot of that, that is why I'm very concerned about what's going on. Keep reporting, and then also alert on social media. Use social media and journalists as well, like yourselves.
Ferrial, appreciate your time this evening, and certainly one hopes that we're not going to see a further deepening of this crisis. But thank you so much for talking to us this evening. Appreciate it. That's Dr. Ferrial Adam, WaterCAN Executive Manager, who has been joining us to talk about some of the water concerns that we've been seeing. It's really a worry, especially when I'm reading some of what you have to say to us tonight about some of the water issues where you are and how difficult it has been.